it keeps coming back. And that's why you have to do the proper stretches. Look, I'm healing, or I healed because I incorporated the nutrition, and stretching is a miracle drug.
What would you do if your doctor told you that a rare brain tumor was so pressing on your brainstem and surgery could leave you paralyzed for life? How would you react? Right? When breast cancer strikes not only once, but twice, while your young children watch you fight for survival. Well, in today's episode, we sit down with Brigitte Cutshall, a two-time breast cancer survivor and brain tumor warrior who defied the odds. Not only did she beat cancer, but she also overcame the devastating diagnosis of a rare brain tumor, all while raising her wonderful children. Bridget's journey didn't stop at survival. She became a fierce health advocate, embracing natural healing, transforming her body, and challenging Big Pharma's quick fixes. But how did she discover that the one thing that doctors missed? A simple lifestyle change that unlocked her path to healing? Wow, get ready to be inspired by Bridget's powerful story of resilience, hope, and pursuit of true health. But there's a twist. What happened after her second cancer diagnosis that turned everything around? Stay tuned to find out the unconventional treatment that changed her life forever. Hey, it's Rob Renee. Welcome to the I Am Pain-Free podcast. I have a fun guest today. We have Brigitte Cutshall with us today. Did I pronounce that last name correct?
You did it correctly,
All
yes.
right, sorry. For some reason, I was like, no, hold on. That sounds...
I've always had tough ways. People heard pronounce my first name sometimes and the last name.
Yeah, my last name, right, is Renee. So the people always call me either Renee or Reen or something like that.
Right.
So I never worry about pronunciation of names. Good. Bridget, what a wonderful thing to meet you. I appreciate you doing the show with us today. It's going to be an exciting one. Just we start off just with you tell us a little bit about your background and what got you interested in health.
My background is, I joke that I was a hockey mom when this all started. I love sports and things like that, but my background is in publishing and communications and blah, blah, blah. And I started having some weird pain issues. How's that? Weird things that were going on in my early 40s. I found out that I'm very curious and I'm always asking questions. I found out I had breast cancer when I was 41. What the heck?
Oh.
And it doesn't run in my family.
Oh, no.
It does not, and a lot of issues that people are having are usually related to the environment. And then I had to have some surgery to take care of that. But then my hormones were like crazy. What is going on with me? And then I was having weird pain, and I kept asking. So I was asking, only working with doctors who let me ask questions. One doctor just wanted to give me pain pills. I'm like, no, this is not. What is going on? I'm young, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
In my mind,
You're in your 40s, right? You're like,
I was young, and my sons at the time when all this started, they were like 8 and 11. And anyway, there was a breast cancer doctor who was a researcher. He decided to recommended an MRI, my pituitary, which is in your brain. And he found a little, because my hormones that were being affected come from the pituitary. And he found a tiny tumor on my pituitary and a big one in the back of my head that was totally different, that I did not know I had. And that was behind, that was fun. It's called a vestibular schwannoma. It's rare and it's primary. And it was pushing on my brainstem as well. I didn't know because it grew slow.
Right.
And one of my hockey friends, her husband I forgot what his title is, but at the hospital, he was specializing in all this not radiation, but all the reading reports on MRIs. And he called me directly and asked me how I was feeling. And I'm like, I knew this bigwig at the hospital. Why is he calling me? But he knew what I had was not good. Right. And they did not, it's very rare. They did not know how to treat it. There's multiple, especially I ended up going to 6 specialists to figure this out. But
that was scary.
It is. Oh, yeah. I had and my sons at the time, it was 3 years after the first breast cancer. At the time, then I was 44 when that was just discovered. And the first appointment I went to by myself, which was stupid, Rob, don't go by yourself because you're not gonna that stuff I learned. That's why I got into health advocacy. I'm like, you can't do this alone. And I think my husband, for some reason, couldn't, I don't know what it was. So all I heard was a doctor talking about drilling in the back of my head and skull.
What?
And I'm like, I just could not process it. And it was very stressful. And again, it was very rare. There was no specialist at the time in Atlanta who could help me. So I ended up going to Chicago. I found a
Wow.
specialist who made me feel better. He said, I'm going to be okay.
Oh,
And
good.
that, so there's multiple options. The surgery was not a good choice because the where it's located and the high risk of being paralyzed
Yeah, I was
after.
gonna say your stems, your brain,
Right.
brain stem, isn't that what you said?
And it's located between your facial nerve, your hearing nerve, and your balance nerve. And that's where it's called forgot what the trinerve is, what area is where it's located. But but the guy in Chicago said it wasn't growing on my brainstem, it put pressure. That's what was good. And so I got a nice MRI of that and I shared it with people. And my husband said it was very sexy. I'm like, thank you. Yeah, we have to joke about
I
it.
like it. I like
The
it.
dent in my
That's a
brain.
sexy growth inside your brain,
Yes,
right?
it's sexy. I had a dent. So that's kind of what I started sharing this. I'm in that generation. We didn't start talking. Everything is perfect. We always hide that stuff. It was my sons that recommended me to start sharing this. And I became more an advocate and talking about this. And then after the brain stuff, that's when I saw a holistic epidemiologist too, because I was still having these weird body aches. And I did not have surgery, by the way, because the paralysis. And I chose a a neurosurgeon in Atlanta who was really rated really high, good reputation. And
Right.
I asked him, if this was your wife for this kind of brain tumor, would you do surgery on her? Because I wanted to know. And he's no, Bridget, I would not. And then we decided to go with what's called a new technology at the time called CyberKnife. But
Okay.
it's super targeted radiation. I had to
Oh,
do
wow.
something because if it kept growing, I could have got hydrocephalus and it's just weird things that could have happened. So we went that path and it shrunk it. That's really, I talk about anxiety, having, they had to create because you can't move when you're having this stuff to your head. It has to be super targeted. And
Wow. So what did
oh
they
yeah,
like put your face
yeah,
in one of
they
those
had to
things?
create a mold for my face. And
Wow.
And that's when I learned I was having lots of MRIs. I had anxiety. I didn't know I had anxiety because you're stuck in an MRI machine with your head in there and you can't. I didn't know I became claustrophobic, just things like that. And part of it was just anxiety from this kind of diagnosis. And then the breast
Yeah.
cancer. I was more worried about the brain tumor than the breast cancer because they just didn't know what to do with me. Anyway, it all worked. It took time. You had to be patient. And I'm glad I found doctors who had a good sense of humor because that's what I would just have to, that's how I deal with um, serious pressure like that. And
Hey,
I did have a lot of people after that. I would have someone come with me to doctors because back then you didn't have really, I didn't even know about, think about, this is a long time, recording on your phone or anything. You couldn't do that to hear the
oh,
conversations.
interesting.
So I knew to only stick with the doctors who were going to look at the best way that so I could still be around. The size of the tumor, we had to do something because of my age and the size, and it was 2.5 centimeters. That's pretty big actually. And it shrunk below 2 centimeters now. It's still there, but it's dead.
Oh,
But then
good.
a few years later is when my breast cancer came back.
Oh,
Like,
no.
oh God, okay,
Yeah,
great.
you're like, oh,
And
great. Here we go again.
and what it was, my hormones were still wacky, and they believe all this was caused by that other brain tumor because it kept
Okay.
putting pressure on my pituitary. It's not pushing directly on it, but was putting pressure. And so I, one of the doctors gave me some kind of medication to try to make the hormones normal. All it wanted me to do, Rob, I wanted to go rare, maybe hyper. Okay, I didn't need that. You know what I'm saying? So that's what the downside of the pros and cons of taking medication. But it ended up, after the second breast cancer, had to have all these tests done, and it was aggressive. It came back aggressive. And long story short, I had surgeries, and I did go with chemo that route because of the aggressiveness of the tumor. And what really got everything all normalized was a tetanus booster shot. My OBGYN, she had breast cancer too. So she discovered that tetanus booster shots are being repurposed for people with brain tumors. That's what killed my brain tumor, and that's what normalized those two hormones that were affected, which was the growth hormone, which cancer loves that, Rob, by the way.
Right. Right.
And we did not know how to, but isn't that funny? The tetanus booster shot. And after all that, I saw a holistic epidemiologist to make sure, is there anything else going on? I wanted to know. And we found out that I have a dairy allergy to casein protein. And that's something, you think about it, that probably wasn't helping my body deal with all this stuff. And
Right.
when I stopped eating dairy, that's something that was going on while in my 40s. The second cancer, I forgot to mention, came back when I was 49. So it was that time span in my 40s. And
Rough decade.
it was a rough decade. I always smiled to be happy, but my vision was to be there for my sons, and I was. And that's why I just knew. I did see a chiropractor too at the same time, because all this weird stuff putting on your brainstem, that helped a lot. And they had recommended this holistic epidemiologist who, I think he did stuff in Emory too, which is here in Atlanta. I don't know if you're familiar with that. But anyway, he did. I'm like, I want to make sure I'm getting the root cause of everything. And dairy wasn't helping. I'm not saying dairy caused it, but they believe, because I'm a Army brat, a military brat, I was raised around military bases. That kind of tumor that in my brain is usually caused by radiation exposure.
Oh,
That's
wow.
why being curious is so important, and it helped us figure this out. Otherwise, I could be dead, Rob, with all these pills. Some of these doctors just wanted to get me
Yeah.
aside the
Yeah.
pain, but I found the root cause, and then cutting out dairy, which is harder than you think. But also it's another example of, I didn't crave it because my body was telling me don't eat that. And it was actually, that's another reason I saw this. I wanted to find out what else is going on in my body. Everything else was fine. It was just stay away from, I say call it crack. I'm just kidding. Casein protein, because it's in everything. Dairy's in everything now. And that's when I became very deep into nutrition.
Ah,
That
awesome.
helped me as well. And people are surprised at my age, 59 now. I'm like, I've always been careful about what I ate. And in like I meant, the casein protein that's in some of our bread in the US, why are we putting it in our bread? Just stuff like that. You don't
Right. So
know.
what is it? What, casein protein? Is it like,
Casein protein, it's like the chunk in cottage cheese. And then
okay.
whey protein is the liquid in cottage cheese. And so the doctor recommended you've seen like supplements like whey protein. He said to
Yeah.
stay away from that because it could be contaminated with casein. And what it
Is it CASON? Is that
is,
right?
casein, casein,
Ah, okay.
casein. And a lot of that has to probably do with our dairy, I'm sorry, in our country, the United
Right.
States. And so that probably didn't help. So they called me the zebra among horses, because I've always done the right things. But who in the heck, knows? I didn't know there was an issue with dairy, because casein protein, it takes about 4 hours, I learned, for your stomach to start digesting it. So that wasn't like an immediate thing. People have issues with lactose, which is other things like that. But I'm so glad I saw this doctor. And again, my curiosity is, I just knew I can't just hop. I've had
Right.
to take them in the past, especially after surgery. Sorry, you just got some pain. But I've also learned another thing after I've been good, by the way. This is my 10-year anniversary.
That's
And
amazing.
not today,
Love.
but this year. And I'm so happy to still be here. And that's because being curious, watching what try to be a good role model for other people.
Right.
the cancer stuff is just crazy. And then that's what makes, I mentioned the breast cancer, it's very complicated because there's over 30 different types and it's caused by different things. And mine was very rare. So they were happy that I was curious. And so if that you just, and people think going trusting your instinct is bougie, but I think it's important, or not bougie, but woo, I don't know what the word is. I
Woo.
woo woo. Yeah, but
There you go.
it was my instincts. Bridget, something's not right. Ask the questions. And I'm so grateful that I had doctors who were like, whoa, puzzled too. And another thing I wanted to do after all this, I'm a big runner. I couldn't run for a while, Rob.
Ah,
And because that brain tumor did affect my balance nerve.
oh yeah. A
Think
little
about that.
difficult to run when you
Or
can't keep
even
your
like,
balance.
correct. And but it grew slowly. So my body had accommodated to it. So then going through all this stuff, I'm like, I'm going to have physical therapy. I'm going to friggin' run again. I'm going to run again.
Nice.
And so now I do. And,
Yay. That's
and,
awesome.
and I became a run leader, a certified coach with the Atlanta Track Club. Isn't that funny?
Nice.
But I've always been a runner. I've always enjoyed it. I don't do marathons, but it's something I think it helped train my brain to rebalance. It's hard to explain.
No, running is very therapeutic. I
It's
love it. I don't know, but I was a runner as well when I
awesome.
was young, and I ended up getting into nutrition really young because I read a book called Eat to Win, and
Oh yeah, I've heard of that book.
yeah,
Yes.
the book was awesome because it was like it just taught me how important what you put in your body and how your body uses it.
And fuel.
Now you fast forward 40 years later, and now I'm really helping people understand what God put in this earth is he put it there for a reason, right? And there's so many things that he has put on this earth that if we put them together in the right way, they can really help you in a significant way. So
That's true.
it's really fun to see the circle. And it sounds like you did that same
I did
thing.
the same
Nutrition's been
thing.
really important for you, and
And
you found
I
an amazing doctor. That's awesome. Who
right.
helped you discover the casein? Yeah,
That's what
I haven't heard of that before, and I've heard of lactose intolerant and other things but I do know our dairy just in general in the States is
it's
not healthy, and that's frustrating. They're really poisoning a lot of our
it
food.
is. Or it's just my mom's family, my mother's side is French. And to be honest with you, I had visited the family in France. I'm sorry I had to eat some of their cheese. And I was just fine, Rob,
Uh,
because their cows are raised differently. But I had to try it. We're in France. I'm sorry, I had to eat cheese.
yeah,
But
I'll bet.
I felt fine.
That's
And
awesome.
so it's just weird. It's a combination of these environments, but I think being curious, and I joke that I'm a little stubborn because I'm going to
Well,
find out what's going on.
I'm glad you are. I'm glad you're
Right.
stubborn. And so tell
I
me
joke
about
that
your advocacy. Is that what you're doing for a living now, or is
well, I wanted to focus more on that, Rob,
okay?
because I think we need to understand people like us who've had these experiences. And another thing I did during the chemo and the cancer stuff, they had us watch these videos on how to be healthy while you're going through chemo, telling you to eat healthy. But when you're in the chemo pod, guess what they were giving us? They were
Probably
Coke,
crap, right?
Coke and cookies. And no, I knew, thank goodness, I was certified or understood the nutrition aspect. I said, I'm not eating that. And number one, I don't know if there's going to be dairy in your stupid cookies. I just
Right.
don't know. And so I was a role model. I would bring apples and water bottles
Go
because
girl.
that's what I wanted them to see. It's just try to be the example. And
Yeah.
people
Well,
are
you think
just
about that. They more than anybody should be providing their patients with things that are good for them, right? Just the last woman I interviewed was a really big health advocate and nutrition advocate, and she will not eat any processed sugar, right, at
no,
all. Because it's just so detrimental to your health. And this was like, wow, I knew it was bad, right? But I was telling her, oh yeah, I have a cheat day. She said, you realize that cheat day, you're just poisoning yourself. I'm just like,
it is.
oh,
Especially it's all processed, everything. And that's why I always say if it's got a label on it, it's not really food. I've done a lot of blogging to teach people what I've learned about. I have actually spoke to some doctors. There was a conference down in Miami, doctors, to tell them my story
Good.
because they need to know this,
Yeah.
right? The
Yeah.
doctors, unfortunately, they're not trained in about nutrition.
No, they take in their 4 years of school, they maybe take a couple of hours worth of training on nutrition, which is just, and it's not only 4 years, it's what, 12 years
Correct.
of school that they go through. So they go through extensive training, but they don't train people on the basics of the human body and how it works, right? That's
Yes.
a problem. They just specialize in something, and that we need that specialization. I don't discount them for that, but there's just so many people that aren't trained on the holistic body and how we need to try to help people. So I guess that's why you and I are doing what we're doing. We're trying to help people understand that your body is made up of more than just pain medicine,
And we're
right?
all different. That's what another
Yeah,
thing they try to
everybody's body's different. Yeah,
all
look at your body won't process
can't
that.
I
Yeah,
can try, but then it screws up. I was getting weird sinus problems and body aches later. It wasn't like immediately. That's why we
yeah,
didn't.
that's interesting that it takes 4 hours. So how would
That's
you
what I
correlate
learned.
it? Then you didn't even think about it by then. You're like, why the
And
heck am
so
I having
we
this
need to
issue?
listen to doctors like him, who is an
Yeah.
epidemiologist, look at every aspect, but he looked at it from a different angle about what are these people eating. And he helps a lot of people who have autoimmune diseases.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I could have developed one. You just don't know, Rob.
Right.
I had
Right.
continued. I am just so fortunate to have. I believe and I'm so happy all these people go to the medical field to help others. But at the same time, that's why I wanted to tell them, look, I'm healing or I healed because I incorporated the nutrition, and stretching is a miracle drug. Physical therapy helped me a lot because I've had all, you think about all that surgery and crap I had to have. And
Yeah.
we
Right.
had, but that I learned, Rob's, the scar tissue never goes away. It keeps coming back. And that's why you have to do the proper stretches. And even though, thank God I can still run, if I
Yeah.
don't, doing this kind of stuff, you people don't think about that. It can affect you if you have an upper body scar tissue. It's just,
Yeah.
everybody is just so different. And I do still see a chiropractor regularly because she helps. She used to be a runner. She laughs at me. She knows when I've been running. 'Cause part of it's probably my age, but we just gotta. I'm a believer in staying active while you can,
For sure.
right?
For
And
sure.
eat good. Have you ever heard of
Yeah.
the book called The China Study? That's something that talks about dairy too.
Okay. The China study. I have not, but so
Yeah,
tell me about that one.
that one is how cancer is now starting to spread in that area. And China doesn't have a lot of cancer, but now there's growing because they've taken our Western diet.
No. Yeah.
That's what's going on. So I would check that book out. That opened my eyes.
Yeah.
I got certified. It's called Institute of Integrative Nutrition because I just
Nice.
wanted to help myself heal. And I think Gupta, I can't remember his first name. He took it over recently. Oh, the dog, I can't remember his name.
Dr.
Uh,
Gupta.
yeah,
If we want, you can look it up and send it to me, and I'll add
yeah,
it
I'll
to the
send
show
it.
notes of the
Yeah,
of
it's
our of this episode.
or I'm sorry, it's Deepak Chopra. That's who took it over.
Ah, okay, okay,
He took it over recently. And so I was reading all his stuff. I learned to do more yoga. When you're going through all in my 40s, I had to find a relief.
yeah. It sounds like that decade was just brutal for you, and you've done an amazing job of getting
Right.
healthy now, which is fantastic.
And my 50s have been fantastic. People complain about their 50s, but mine have been great because I've
Awesome.
been through the rough stuff and being there and trying to be a good role model. And I've done stuff with the American Cancer Society because they're based here in Atlanta. Talk to legislators when they're in session to try to pass increase tobacco taxes, right? Just things like that. And they're helping one of the senators, he passed away recently, but he helped pass the federal bill about more cancer research. He we need that because and I think AI is helping in that regard. That's a good way to use AI is to do research, and
Yeah, there's good and bad way. I think AI
that's a good
has
way.
really, yeah, good uses, and it has nefarious uses, and I want to use AI for good. So
Use it for
uh,
good. That's
yeah.
the important thing. And I'm just so grateful I had the right people around me. And I had, like I mentioned, I only had the doctors that are around me that let me ask questions. I did fire a couple, so because they were pushing pills on
Well,
me.
yeah, I was gonna say the guys that are pushing pills on you, right? They're not there to help you. They're just there to get put another pill.
Yeah, I'm like, this is not going to help me long term. And I wanted, again, my beacon was my sons. And now there are men who are graduated college.
All right.
One of them did a boot camp. He's a developer. He's the one that took things apart and fixed things. He started college and he's, this is stupid, mom. I did this already in high school. But I've heard that from other people. So he ended up going to a development course that you've seen all these technical development stuff.
Yeah,
That's
right.
what he's been doing. And he's doing really well. And
Awesome. Awesome.
that's what I just wanted them to, that was just my hope. And then my husband, thank God, he was really supportive as well.
That's great. That's
Got
great.
to
So
have
how
that.
are you helping other people now? You're obviously, you mentioned the advocacy where you're helping people, which I think is great because I remember the times when I've gone to the doctor and my wife doesn't go with me. It's really frustrating because then she comes back and wants to know all the details. I'm like, I only
I don't
remember
know.
half of them.
I do a lot of speaking. I have some books out that one of them, my most recent one from last year is called Move for You. I
Okay.
wanted moving can be healing, right? But I do focus on like how we're individual, and it's called Move for You, empowering a healthy, happy life through exercise. But you have to
Nice.
to me, exercise can be dancing, it could be saying
Right. Just
working in
moving,
a
right?
garden and just moving. I just want to encourage people to move. And
Awesome.
I have done like most of my stuff. I don't have a course or anything. I thought about doing that, but I have mostly speaking, and I write books, and I have a blog, and I have a podcast too called Real Things Living, where it was based off my first book, which is called Real Things, Six Ways to
Okay.
Improve Life, that I didn't know what was going to happen, Rob. That was after that last cancer. I didn't know. We didn't know. So I wrote that. And then I gave a bunch of copies to the cancer ward at the hospital. And then I was invited to present it at Lincoln Jazz Center in New York.
Oh, nice.
And that was in 2015 or 16. I can't remember. It's a blur. But maybe it's 2016. But that's what it is. I just want to inspire people to
That's awesome.
just, because again, remember, we're all different, and to be curious, right? And don't be afraid to ask questions, and it's okay to have junk food every now and then. You know what I'm saying? It's okay. But I'm not going to have junk food that's going to have dairy in it because I don't want to get sick later.
Because
Body
you
ache.
found that particular issue, it causes you a problem, right? So some
Right.
people might be something different, right? Might not be dairy, it might be something else, right?
We thought it was gluten. One of the doctors tested me for that. That's one of the things he tested. It wasn't. It's because I was mentioning before earlier, super earlier, like our bread here in the U.S. has dairy in it. What I don't understand why they do that. And whereas France, they don't, right? Maybe that's what it is. So I try not, I've cut out this summer. I haven't had bread in 3 months. I just wanted to just stop because it makes me want to eat more, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I eat a piece of
they're really doing funny things to our food all across the board. And a lot of our bread has what's called dwarf wheat in it. And the wheat in the United States is just not
it's
healthy.
not
Yeah, so it's
bad.
just too bad because I love bread. But
I
you're
love
right,
bread too.
it's
I
just not healthy.
and this doctor, by the way, he told me about eating rice. He told me to stick with brown rice and not white rice because the actual nutrients in rice is in the brown rice. He gave me all these great tips, and that's when I did learn it in my nutritious stuff. But I'm so glad I think some people think he's woo, but whatever. I'm still here. A lot of other people are still here, and I can run, Rob. That's what's
That's
important. And I can still
awesome.
write. I can walk without being, it just took a while, but you have to be patient. That's another
Yeah.
thing. You have to be. once do small steps too, as you probably understand. You've got to heal, got to take it in small steps.
I love it. I love it. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. What are the ways that people can get a hold of you?
The best way, you can go to my website, which is my name, BrigitteCutshall.com, and it's pronounced really in Europe, Brigitte, but in the US, we say
Brigitte.
Brigitte,
I
.com.
love it.
Or I'm very active on LinkedIn and on Instagram. It's just the same name.
Okay, great. I'll make sure that we have the links to those in the show notes. So if you want to get a hold of Brigitte, we will make sure that we put the links in the show notes. But it's been a pleasure having you on the show, and I'm glad that you have had a wonderful 50s instead of not a repeat of your 40s.
Oh yeah, I
Right?
I made it to 59. I'm all good.
There you go. That's great. Let's make the 60s even better than the 50s.
Exactly.
How's that? Then hopefully you can help a lot of other people
That's
along the way, and you'll be blessing them to avoid the trials and tribulations that you had as when you were growing up, right?
exactly.
It's wonderful to meet you, and thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Rob.
As many of you know, my focus at the I Am Pain-Free podcast is help as many people get pain-free as possible. And we strive to use all natural and alternative therapies to accomplish that goal. Well, today I'm thrilled to introduce to you a revolutionary product that aligns perfectly with our mission of natural health and well-being. It's called Exodus by Exodus Strong. At Exodus Strong, their mission is to help you break free from the grip of big pharma and embrace natural solutions that promote vibrant health. With a foundation rooted in the wisdom of the Bible, the all-natural supplement harnesses the power of 7 key ingredients specifically mentioned in the scriptures. The flagship product Exodus is designed to be transformational, providing benefits such as energy enhancement, stress relief, blood sugar stabilization, pain relief, and anti-inflammation. So join the movement, right, to help them get 1 million new people to read the Bible every day and transform their health naturally. When you purchase Exodus, use code IAPF at checkout to receive a special free gift with your order. It's time to exit the old you and step into a new chapter of vitality and well-being. To get there, you go to exodusstrong.com. So it's Exodus, EXODUS, STRONG.com. And check out and use that IAPF for the I Am Pain-Free podcast. And then you'll experience the benefits of the Exodus mineral blend. This mineral blend is amazing. It's got the molecular hydrogen generating formula that's backed by hundreds of scientific studies. So begin your journey feeling great and looking great. Don't miss the opportunity to take control of your health with the all-natural way. So go check it out. I think you'll really enjoy it.